All right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode number 416 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family and trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I come on twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal to have relationships like Jesus would want you to have. And so today we're going to be reviewing a video by, I think his name is Isaac David. He runs a YouTube channel called Men on Mission, and this is kind of his outreach to young men. And he's talking about 7 unattractive qualities or attributes that men have when they are young. And I think he's trying to get people to kind of self-reflect and self-identify in their own life, what is actually keeping me from ending up on the path that God has designed me to walk. And these are some of those things that could be keeping you from doing that. Young people, you've probably asked yourself a million times, like, why am I still unmarried? Or why have I not found my partner? Or why am I still looking for, when I know that God has called me to the life of marriage, why am I still looking for, the partner that God has for me? And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to dive right into it. It's going to be super fun. If you're still deciding whether or not you're designed for marriage, sorry. If you're deciding whether or not you're, designed for singleness or designed for marriage, because again, those are the only two scripturally condoned living situations when it comes to your sexual lifestyle, then maybe go back and check out some of my other work, my other content. I've talked about that in hundreds of episodes before this, figuring out how to figure out whether or not you're designed as a single man or to be a married man. It's really not that difficult. The scripture kind of makes it really, really easy for you. I would encourage you, read Matthew 19, read 1 Corinthians chapter 7, read Genesis 1, and you're going to start really seeing some things, even really just anything that's referencing the book of Genesis and how God set the world up to work. You read that. And you're going to start seeing some real patterns that are going to really easily help you just, figure out what road God has made you for. But these are for the men. This video is going to be for the men who have already discovered that. You already know that you're, designed to be a married man, and you're here to figure out some of the unattractive things that you might have so that you can get rid of them, and it's going to make it easier for you to find a spouse. Okay. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and see what Isaac David has to say here.
What are the traits as a young man that you should desperately avoid? In today's video, we're going to talk about 7 of the least attractive traits that a young man can have. And Kazia, you don't know any of these traits that I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to share them with you, and you can let me know whether you agree, disagree. And I think this is going to be helpful for you guys to get not only my perspective, but also a woman's perspective in this.
I think this is his wife. I forgot to mention that. And this is really what, I don't know. I'm thankful for those of you guys that have sisters and stuff and moms that can tell you how you're coming off, because sometimes you're presenting yourself in such a way and you think, man, yeah, this is awesome. And then upon hearing some feedback from other people, you begin to realize, oh man, this is not how I want to present myself. So just kind of keeping, and not that we're to have the fear of man and just be led around by what other people want. But if you're looking for a wife, you actually have to be, for lack of a better word, you have to be fishing in the right lake. Like if you're presenting like an awful individual, or if you're presenting yourself, as somebody who does not have the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, then you can expect to not be, again, for lack of a better word, getting the right kind of results. I'm not going to use the fishing analogy anymore. That was just weird. But but still, what I'm saying is exactly true. It's just that I had a terrible time coming up with a good analogy for it on the spot. But you need to be looking in the right places by advertising yourself in the right way, advertising yourself honestly, making sure that you're not, advertising yourself based on how it's trending to advertise yourself in the current day. If you're looking for a spouse, you need to be advertising yourself in a way that is actually, in alignment with Scripture, yes, but also just honest, okay? Let's go ahead and see kind of what he says here. I'm really curious to see what he says. 7 unattractive traits young men have are.
Stuff, and hopefully we can identify these flaws within ourselves to grow in certain of these areas. I know for me, I'm going to share with you a lot of the areas that I have struggled and grown in, and also ones that I still need growth in. So let's jump into it. So the first unattractive trait is self-deprecation. And I think I've told you this story, but when I was like in basketball, when I was younger, probably like 12 years old, I would often like, it was really embarrassing. Like looking back, I can't believe I did this, but I would be like, man, I suck. Like I'm the worst player ever. And I thought it was like humility. I really did. I thought it was like, I saw so many of these guys that were super prideful and boastful. And I thought, man, that really like turns me off like to these guys. But I'm like, okay, so I should be, just essentially tear myself down all the time.
I would say that self-deprecation is on one end of the pendulum, and I feel as though you often swing there, not you, but you, general you.
Yeah.
Often swing there in running from cockiness.
Right.
Because in some way, self-deprecation is like more pious. I feel like from a young age, most of us experienced cockiness first. And so in order to run away from that, there becomes this like deep self-deprecation, and I'm just awful at everything. Yeah. And from a woman's perspective, that is just as unattractive as cockiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because why would I, as a woman, want to be led by someone that doesn't believe in themselves at all?
Right. Because I think it is a defense mechanism.
Oh, for sure.
To protect.
And it is kind of the fear of man thing coming in again. And I'm not saying that I don't know. This just gets everything, just like everything. When you start thinking about it a lot, it just gets so complicated. I'm not saying that you should be so focused on how you present yourself that you're living in such a way where men, or women in this case, are controlling how you act. Like, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're developing habits when you're a young man. Okay, you're developing a lot of habits. Okay, and your speech habits are among those habits that you're developing. And if you're constantly running around, not exalting the Lord, not glorifying God, not lifting up His Son, but deprecating, self-deprecating yourself, then, and again, that's anti-scriptural in a lot of ways. I mean, I do understand humility, but that's anti-scriptural in a lot of ways. As a being who's made in the image of God, to self-deprecate is kind of insulting to your Creator. So you need to be very, very careful about that. And also, just, I don't know. If you're trying to grow in humility, then you need to be lifting up other people, and you need to be especially lifting up the Lord. That's how you grow in humility, I think. It's not by, bring yourself lower. You've heard that a million times before in sermons and stuff. But yeah, this speech, I think, is kind of a turnoff for, I know my wife wouldn't like this. Like, if I were to run around, if I were to run around saying bad stuff about myself all the time, not only would she not know how to react to that, how to respond to that, what to say to that when I did that, but she would also, kind of see that as, I mean, this is a guy that she chose to marry me. She doesn't want to think like, or be presented constantly with these statements that she's married to trash. I mean, that doesn't help anybody. It actually hurts, everything involved in your life. So yeah, this is just something that young guys sometimes do. And I did this when I was young too. Sometimes I still find myself doing this, but I'm not saying that's a good thing. But yeah, just try to avoid this, guys. I don't think that's going to get you. It's not going to get you the result you're wanting. And you heard him say the reason people do it is to avoid coming across as arrogant, which is a noble goal. Absolutely. You do not want to come across as arrogant. That might be later down the list of his 7 things that, are very unattractive in men. But you still don't want to, like she said, swing so far to this side of the pendulum that you're overcorrecting and overbalancing in this way as well.
Against being exposed. I'm going to preemptively expose myself so nobody else, can expose me. But in a sense, it's kind of revealing our pride. Mm-hmm. It's us saying, I'm not willing to be vulnerable or exposed by anybody else. I'm going to do it in the way that I see fit. And that's just it further exposes just how kind of boastful in our hearts we are about ourselves, and how we desperately need, at least for me, the validation of others. Because usually what comes with self-deprecation is a plea for someone to counter that
Tell
belief.
you, oh, you're so good at basketball, baby.
Exactly. If I were to come to you and be like, I'm the worst YouTuber ever, which happens from time to time.
These are our supper time conversations.
What I need from you in that moment, it's a plea for you to, validate me, to give me that affection and attention. As a married couple, I mean, that makes sense to a degree, right?
It's a portion of my role. you could
Exactly.
say, yeah.
But when that is skewed to the point of me desperately, needing that, just being absolutely insecure, and instead of just asking you for that affirmation, I need to work on it still. And it's a growth process, but it's good to identify when self-deprecation slips in, when you swing to the other side. Hey guys, quick thing before we get back.
And while he's doing this little plug here for Covenant Eyes, which by the way is awesome, I do want to say it is fine to, I think, self-diagnose to figure out, what your problems are, because we all have them. I'm not saying that because you should not engage in self-deprecating language all the time, that you have no issues. That's not what I'm saying. We definitely all have issues. I'm just saying, and I think it's fine to do some self-reflection, even get some feedback from other people, figure out what's, not even get some feedback. That could be awkward. Just people have given you feedback, man. Just think about it for a second. They've given you feedback. Like right now, I can tell you what my biggest problem is in my marriage. And just because of Lainey's feedback that I know that she's given me in such a gracious and kind way. But I am just stressed out all the time about nonsense. And that comes from a desire to make my wife's life as easy as possible and create, solve problems before they happen and make sure there's no issues going on. That my family then has to suffer for, my soon-to-be, extra utero daughter and my wife of 3 years going on, then I'm just trying to really help. But in doing so, I get so worked up to try and make a perfect environment for everyone involved that I can kind of become less enjoyable to be around because I'm so worried about creating an environment where everything is flowing well. So that's my biggest problem. And also just I don't know, allowing other people's choices to affect me. I'm way too bad at that. I will be out in public and I'll see people just do insane things. And I just start getting just either going down this complaint trail of whining to not whining, but kind of just complaining about other people, and it ruins whatever I was in the middle of doing. Or I will, I'll be so focused fighting the battle not to go down that complaint trail that I internalize the complaint trail and stop talking, and that shuts down conversation. And then, you can see that's kind of my biggest problems right now. So I'm not saying self-reflection is bad. You should absolutely do that just to try and be aware of what your problems are. But I don't think that you should constantly slam yourself all the time in front of your partner, because again, it makes everything more awkward. All the reasons he said were true. So he says number 2 here is sloth and laziness. One of the 7 deadly sins, laziness and sloth. Laziness is, I think, a big one for men. And I wish while he does this, I'm going to pull up a chart just to show you guys, how much it really does negatively impact your likelihood of finding a spouse if you're exhibiting this characteristic. But while he talk, I'll let him talk first.
There have been periods of my life where I've struggled with this a little bit, but they haven't been very long because I've been pretty motivated generally. But I can identify and, other guys that I've grown up with and just, I see from the outside just how damaging sloth can be. And I know the Bible speaks very clearly about, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't plant, there will be no harvest.
Yep.
And I don't know, I could just imagine from a woman's perspective, needing a man, desiring a man to provide for you, to lead you. If a man doesn't work and he's not showing that he has a good work ethic, I couldn't imagine that's very attractive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just naturally, we're speaking in practical terms, naturally a woman's innate desire is to be a mother, generally, hopefully. And in order to be a mother with your children at home, you are looking for someone who will provide.
Right.
And
Yep,
there is
exactly.
not a whole lot of provision in slothfulness. There
No.
isn't anything innately wrong with having a slow evening.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not saying that you would have to be hustling 24/7, because I don't think that's healthy
Right.
either. But there needs to be that level of desire to work, to provide.
Yeah, because you see the guys that are all hustle, and even when they get in a relationship, they get married, they believe all that they're providing is finances. And I have a really good job, so I'm just going to be working constantly, but they don't realize that they also need to provide emotionally and spiritually and lead emotionally and spiritually.
Because as a woman, it's at certain times of the month, it is necessary to slow down.
Right.
I think it goes beyond this. I'm going to pull up this chart for you guys here. This is, again, I use Brad Wilcox's statistics every single episode. He's a professor of sociology at the University of Virginia, one of the world's leading authorities on marriage and family right now. He created the Institute for Family Studies. I think he created that. I'm pretty sure, double check me on that if I could be wrong, but you probably don't care anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, he does a lot of research, a lot of really, really, really good research. I'm sure this guy is peer reviewed and acclaimed by people who are experts in their field. And he wrote a book called Get Married, Why Americans Must Defy the Elites, Forge Strong Families, and Save Civilization. It's an awesome book. You can get it on Amazon. And in that book, he has a PDF going through all of his sources. And today, I'm going to go through this one with you. Figure 9.2, married mothers are happier when their husbands are employed full-time. Percentage of mothers very happy in marriage by husband's employment status. So something that you can do to boost the odds of being seen and perceived as attractive by young women your age is actually having a means of providing for them. You heard what that woman just said there in that video. A woman's goal is to be, one of her goals, one of her purpose, one of her inclinations, her natural desires is to be cared for and provided for by a man. And so if you're gonna be able to need to be seen as somebody who can meet that need. You gotta have a plan of how you're gonna take care of her. So you gotta be in some. I'm not saying you shouldn't date till you're out of college. I think that would be a terrible idea. But you have to be in process. You have to be in the groove. You have to be walking the path of being able to take care of your partner. So for me, what that looked like was, as immediately upon graduating high school, I needed to find a way, and really I had been thinking about it before, and I would encourage you to think about it before, finding a way of, how am I going to make money so that I can get married? And the conclusion I came to was that I thought my dad had done a fantastic job with how he did it, and I saw the benefits of his chosen career, which was being a full-time public educator. So I decided to go down that road for a couple of reasons. Number one, it made enough money to support a family. Number two, it also did not take so much of my time that I would have no time with the family I was supporting, because that's a very serious danger with a lot of people. Like, you can be the richest guy in the world, but hey, do you actually have time with your wife and children? Think about that for a second. Do you actually have time with your wife and children? Because that's very, very important if you want a healthy relationship with them. So that's something that teaching enabled me to do. Number three, it was very flexible as far as I could get another job in the summer if we needed a little bit more money during a season, or if we weren't as, strapped for cash, then I could just use my summer to spend with my wife and children. So, and be more present with them. So all those things are reasons that I chose to be a teacher. And it was also super practical. Like, there was a university that gave me a full ride, other than, like, I think I ended up having to pay like $1,200 or something for a bachelor's, but they actually paid me for the first 3 years to go to their school, and it was really great. And it was like a 7-minute drive from my house, and so I didn't have to waste money on room and board. I didn't have to waste money on anything but tuition, and I was able to get my degree in 4 years, just doing that. And so basically, anytime in that college experience, if a woman were to ask me, like, hey, what do you do? Like, how do you plan on, like, what are you doing after college? Is how they would say it. Okay. But I think maybe they're not all wanting to know if you're capable of providing, but I think that they're going to find out really quickly based on asking you very normal questions like that in conversation, like, hey, what do you do for a living? Whether or not you're lazy. Okay. They're going to find out really quick. Okay. If you don't have a job and you're not in process to get a job, and you don't have any plan for your future, you're not investing in yourself to make money for your family, then she's going to notice, man. She's going to notice. And you can see here, this is the percentage of happy mothers, or of mothers very happy in marriage by husband's employment status. When their husband is part-time or unemployed, 56% of them are happy. When their husband is a stay-at-home parent and homemaker, they are 66% happy. So still happier than when their partner's unemployed. When their husband is employed full-time, 74% of them are happy. So the greatest way that you can make your partner happy in a marriage is to make sure that you are working full-time to make money for them, basically. And of course, I'm not talking about people who are retired or people who are just starting out. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, when you've gone through whatever process there is to get your job, if it's a training or a course you have to complete, or college or a vocational education, whatever the process is, and you've done that, or you're in process to do that, that's great. But you need to be providing for your wife as far as making it so that she does not have to go out and earn money herself, is really what I'm trying to say. Like, Lainey and I have chosen, while we were waiting for children, to both work. There's a lot of reasons for that, actually, but what we quickly discovered is that it is not like a dual income, no kids living situation. The DINK lifestyle, as some people call it, is not the heaven that it's made out to be. I mean, there are great things about it. I love having money, surplus money. That's great. And we've been doing a great job saving and stuff like that. That's how we were able to get a house and all that. But I don't think that's great to do for an elongated span of your life, because your home economy is completely uncared for. And I've talked about that in other issues. If you're curious as to what I mean by that, I just mean, like, your house is basically not taken care of, dinner's not made, your clothes aren't done, and nothing's cleaned. You haven't done any preparation for any hospitality or ministry things that you're trying to do in your home. And so you come home from your 9 to 5, both of you, and then you do a new job, and that's getting your house in order. And it's just a lot more work on yourself than it is if you have somebody to take care of the home economy and somebody to take care of providership. I think that works a lot better. And you can see figure 9.3 here, women's marital happiness by men's providership and emotional engagement. That's figure 9.3. The next figure down, he says, this is the percent of wives very happy in marriage and sexual relationship by reports of their husband's providership and attentiveness. So it's a combination of the two. This is another thing that's really important for people to know. It's not just that you have to provide for your wife. That is an incredibly essential part of it. Like, your wife, as you can see from the chart right above, figure 9.2, your wife is more likely to consider herself, self-identify as very happy in marriage based on, the fact that you are a full-time employee somewhere. But it's also equally true that the attentiveness has to be there as well. You can't just have providership and no attentiveness. Like I said before, you can be the richest guy in the world, and if you have no time with your wife, your marriage is going to be awful. Okay. And so you have to have the attentiveness, attention, and the time to spend with your wife and children. It says that this is the percentage of wives very happy in marriage and sexual relationship by reports of their husband's providership and attentiveness. You can see the dark line are the wives that gave their husband the highest rating for both good provider and very attentive. Okay. And then the gray down here did not give the husband the highest rating for either good provider or very attentive. So you can see here, you're more likely to be very happy if you gave your husband if these wives gave their husband the rating of very attentive and a good provider. Okay, 95% of the wives who gave their husband the highest rating for good provider and very attentive are happy. Isn't that crazy? 95% of the wives who gave their husbands the highest rating for both good provider and very attentive are happy. And you can see it goes down from there. Only 46% of the wives who did not give their husband the highest rating for the highest rating for either good provider or very attentive are happy. Okay. This is directly tied to your wife's happiness. Okay. This is directly tied to your wife's happiness. And some people, yes, laziness, sloth is killing your odds of actually getting married. Okay. And beyond actually getting married, I would say experiencing a happy marriage, like this is showing you. Okay, if you want a happy marriage, you have to be both a good provider and very attentive. And then the top bar right here that you can see that I'm circling was marriage. Let's look at the sexual relationship factor here. Okay, I think that's yes. 87% of the wives who gave their husband the highest rating for both good provider and very attentive report high levels of sexual satisfaction in their relationship. 87% are happy, very happy with their sexual relationship of those wives. Okay. If you look down here, 35%, 35%, a 50% drop of the wives who did not give their husband the highest rating for either good provider or very attentive were happy with their sexual relationship, very happy with their sexual relationship. That says it all. And so this is true for both having a healthy sexual relationship, a very happy sexual relationship, and a very happy marriage. You're more likely to have both of those things if you're both a good provider and very attentive to your wife and her needs. And I would assume, by extension, your children's needs. Okay, you've got to be able to be very attentive and provide for your children as well. It's kind of common sense and it shouldn't need to be said, but I don't think people understand how important it is. Like they're like, yeah, I need to be a good provider. I need to take care of my family. It's like, but do you really understand how important that is in the likelihood of your children and your wife being happy? I don't think you do. Like that's a big thing, man. Like that's like everything you've got to do. Not everything, but like that's a lot of it. And so, yeah, let's continue with the video here. This has been super good so far. He's about halfway done.
If your significant other is unable to slow down with you in those times, it can be very disconnecting. Yeah.
Okay, number 3, indecisiveness. I picked these ones because I think when we were dating, these were some of the most difficult for me. And because I really held on to what I've now more so called like a nice guy mentality. Like I really wanted you to like me. I really wanted you to approve of my decisions. And, you know, even when it came to dates and us doing things, or even like some of the conversations we were having, I always wanted you to just really like me. Mm-hmm. And so it made it difficult and made me second guess some of the decisions I was making, even simple decisions, because I would second guess like, oh, is she going to be happy with this? Like, is she going to like this? Like if we go to this restaurant, and I would just like think about where I was going to take you or what we were going to do. And I would spend like the afternoon just kind of like creating a plan. It was, you know, it's maybe you could consider it maybe a little bit sweet because I really cared.
That's very sweet.
But at the same time, it was extremely indecisive.
Obviously, because we were not living together, I didn't see a lot of the indecisiveness because that came prior to hanging out with me. If I had known that anxiety was there throughout those dates to keep a certain timeline or to make sure that I was enjoying myself, that would have been a little bit sad to me because you're not 100% there present either, right?
In a sense, what's keeping me from making a decision is trying to make the perfect decision.
Yeah.
Right? And in that, I think there's a level of pride and self-protection that I couldn't bear making a bad decision because then you wouldn't like it. And how could I possibly deal with that? And I would be exposed. You know,
and maybe that leads into this deep fear of failure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And I think of generally, like if we go like to lack of security in God. That God loves me and God is with me and I am significant in his eyes, and not relying so heavily, even as we're dating, on you to provide me that security.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he said a couple really good things there. The pride thing is definitely something you need to be aware of. It's like, I've got to make the perfect decision, I think is how he put it. So if I'm trying to make the perfect decision, I need to make sure that nothing could go wrong here because I'm the perfect husband or whatever. If you're kind of thinking down that road, it's like, well, you know, pride comes before a fall, haughty spirit before destruction. Even if you're not exactly trying to be haughty, I don't know. It's like, you're going to make mistakes. The best husband in the world makes mistakes. You can't avoid those. Like even if you made, you know, every good decision you thought was necessary to avoid mistakes, there's still going to be mistakes. So it's like, at some point, it's like you just got to make the decision so that your wife has somebody to do that for and take care of her. Because like, it's just, what are you going to make her wait? Or are you going to make her do it because you're not man enough to step up to the bat? It's like, no, you cannot do that. You've just got to be the one to just jump in there and do that. The indecisiveness stuff, I have just speaking vulnerably, sharing about my personal experience, I have not struggled with as much. But what I have struggled with is the paralysis. Not paralysis. It's not even the indecisiveness thing. It's more like, I don't know. You can be so caught up in trying to make good decisions and take care of everyone around you that you become, again, like not very fun to hang around because you're so consumed with decision making and like making everything like that's I don't know, maybe some of you guys who are more detail oriented and like concerned with, taking care of your household, like First Timothy tells us, like you take that charge very seriously, which is a good thing, but at the same time you're like so obsessed with that taking care of your household that you can become less enjoyable for your wife to spend time with. And that's the biggest problem probably with my marriage is my failure to do that. Cause like and you got to remember what's the goal of me taking care of my household? What's the goal of me taking care of my household? Like Timothy, like Paul says to Timothy, what's the whole goal there? The goal is, well, there are many goals, but one of the goals is to have a healthy connection with your partner, which is being sabotaged by your ability to, or by your attempts to be so perfect and have everything so perfectly laid out for your wife, that you're so internalized, you're in your own head, and you're not spending time with her, and being present with her in the way that you should. That is a big problem. That's probably the biggest problem with my marriage, honestly. Yeah, it is for sure. So yeah, just be aware of this. Be aware of this, and definitely don't be late. Don't be what's the word? Don't make her pick up the rope and tow the ship. Don't make her lead. Don't make her fly in the point formation of the whatever that's called. Man, I can't think of the word for it. Don't make her be the prow of the ship and do the hard work so that you don't have to. That's the antithesis of being a husband. You're trying to make her job easier. You're trying to take care of her, put all the weight on yourself so that she does not have to carry it. So yeah, but at the same time, you got to actually make the decision, and you can't. Oh my goodness, bless me! What a big yawn. You cannot put it on her so that she has to make it. I think that would really be one of the number one things to blow up your ability to connect with a woman.
And so it put so much pressure on those decisions and made that fear so real. Number 4 is refusal to take risks. If you cannot take risks, you're going to be stuck. Your family's going to be stuck. When I think about a man in general, when I think about masculinity, to me, masculinity, so much of it is being able to receive the call of a mission and pursue that courageously. And if you're not able to do that, if you are stuck in fear of taking that risk of being, like we said earlier, being exposed, I couldn't imagine that's very attractive for a woman.
Yeah, and I think the idea of taking a risk together is so much more attractive than you always trying to keep me safe in a little bubble, because there is no extreme bonding that has to happen without risk.
I imagine it's important for a woman to gauge the type of risks that a man is taking, right? Like whether these are reckless risks. But if a man can't take any risks, then yeah, it does almost signal that he has very little confidence in himself and very little confidence in God. And
I think there's a danger on both sides of this, for sure, because you got guys, that will gamble. Man, I'm gonna step on some toes here. I'm not trying to step on any toes, man. There's people who will gamble their family's entire security for that risk. They will jeopardize their family's sustenance, their family's ability to make and eat bread, because they had a dream or a goal or an ambition or a pursuit where they felt led by the Lord, or they had an awesome opportunity, or there was an awesome risk with a high reward at the end, possibly, and they took that and they jeopardized what their family needed to stay afloat. And that, I think, is where you get into, again, problems with Paul's advice to Timothy. A man who cannot take care of his own household is worse than an unbeliever. You have to take care of your household. You have to. And so if your house, I would sin more on the side. I would err more on the side of caution here personally. Now, maybe you err on the other side of this issue, and I would love to hear your perspective on that. But my proclivity or potential for sin is going to be on the side of not taking any risks so that my family doesn't get better things because I was too caught up in the safety of making sure they had what they needed. And so that's just my personal temptation. I honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I don't dislike the fact that that's the side on which I would be prone to sin, because the other side I feel is a gross violation of Scripture when it comes to, again, I just probably need to pull that verse up because I've talked to you guys so much about it. I'll pull it up in the Instagram Reels when I'm showing you. In fact, I'll just pull it up really quickly right here. It's just let's see here, Timothy 5, Paul's advice on taking care of your household. And the reason I'm pulling it up for you is it's just because let me look it up on Bible Hub. I'll look it up on Bible Hub because I use them a lot. I think it's just because you want to have, like, I don't know. Maybe there are verses that talk about like not being willing to step out and take a risk and trust the Lord. But at the same time, I'm like, there are also verses that are just about not playing it safe, but like, I don't know, you just got to be able to don't jeopardize your family for your own pursuits is really what I'm saying. But if anyone does, it says this, it's on your screen right now. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. I've taken that charge very, very seriously, and that's why I sin on the side of missing opportunities and not taking risks and passing up these potentials. And I know that there are issues with that, but I've also seen people forsake their own household for risks, and I've seen them not provide for their own and provide instead for themselves and their own ambitions and wants and desires. And I've seen the fruit of that. I've seen the fruit of that. You shall know a tree by its fruit, right? And the fruit of choosing your own ambition and desire over your family's safety and security and providing for their needs is not good. It is very bad. And so I just want you guys to be aware of that. I want you to be aware of this verse. First Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. You have to keep your family in mind when making decisions like this. Really good stuff so far.
In a sense, if you can't take that next step of, the unknown, you want him to be able to signal to you that when we're married, that I can take you into that unknown, into that uncertainty, to take that step, not because I have so much confidence in myself necessarily, but that we can both be grounded in our confidence in God. Number 5 is he needs attention in groups. He desperately needs attention in groups. The reason I say this is because especially when I was younger, like I loved, and I think we're similar in this way, we like attention. I have a YouTube channel, for goodness sake, there's obviously something there.
I love to be the center of a crowd.
Right. Yeah. Like we want to make the jokes. We want to be, in the mix. But when that feels desperate, You know, you always got to be the one getting the attention in the group setting.
Sometimes when we are out, especially, I don't know, with some newer people to us, and we both were like really get in that mood and we're like cracking all the jokes and, you know, doing the one-liners, and then we both get in the car and we were like, was that too much?
That was too much.
That was too much. It's not necessarily that you can't be, and you can't be like a facilitator of fun, maybe. Because, I mean, that could be very attractive in a man too, because he understands wit and humor. There is another side to it where I can see like you're trying to grab the attention for like doing different risky things in front of a crowd. And we've been at places where that is happening, where there's different men, there's different husbands who are like, I'm gonna have this spoonful of hot sauce and everybody's gonna think I'm super cool, or because they are looking for that like deep sense of connection, and because somebody's going to say, oh wow, that was crazy, or oh wow, man, that's cool.
There's a neediness there
There
when they
is.
do stuff like that. Well,
Yeah.
and I think about when even like serious conversations, if you're a man that constantly needs to get your point across and that you are smart, that you know stuff, or are you slow to speak and quick to listen in that context? And I think that shows maturity, that you don't have to be the one that's always getting your opinion out there.
Yeah, I think it's very unattractive when you are a man who needs the final word in every single conversation, in every single setting that you find yourself in.
I think all that whole thing comes down to attitude. That whole thing comes down to attitude, because I totally agree with what he's saying. But you can also, again, sin on the other side of that. Like if you are never speaking up, if you are always, you know, choosing to stay quiet, if you are always letting someone else talk, I don't know. You're, again, that's not leadership. Well, I mean, it could be. It could be. There are great times. Again, there are great times. I don't know. This is very complicated because it's very hard to just do like a 30-minute podcast episode on, you know, the right thing to do as a man in every situation. It's like literally impossible. So it's not going to work. But I'm just trying to think out loud with you here. You can kind of sin on both sides of that issue. You want to be the guy that steps up, says what needs to be said, and also can lead by silence. That's fine too. But I don't know. You're just trying to take care of the people around you. I don't know. Just let them. The more, just practice, guys. You're young people. You're going to be married one day. Just practice taking care of people around you, and that can be very hard, particularly when you're experiencing a time of need, desperate need even. And so I understand that it's very, very difficult. But do your best to try to take care of the people around you, because that's the practice that's going to pay off when you actually have to take care of the person that is most important by God's design in your life, and that is your wife. Okay, and from there it extends outward to your children. And so, yeah, really good. Let's see what his last one is. Now,
Number six is a lack of curiosity and bad at asking questions.
Ooh,
I think this is
that's
just
a
an
good one.
underrated skill, and we talk about this a lot, how there's no real training for this necessarily, and it feels like some people just miss out on this, building the skill of asking good questions and having good conversations. You go on a date with somebody and it's just like they're talking about themselves the whole time, and you haven't been asked one question whatsoever.
I mean,
Dang, that right there is basic self-centeredness. And you're advertising that about yourself by your lack of questions. You've got to be able to ask questions. Like one of the things I tell I'm a SEL teacher. I have like 650 students at a local elementary, and I teach them social skills and emotional skills, regulation, self-control, you know, responsible decision making, taking care of other people, the golden rules, stuff like that. And one of the things I tell them is you have to ask lots of questions. Ask lots of questions. If you are the guy who is only talking about himself, and I mean, you're the guy who's exhausting everybody in the room. You are exhausting everybody. You are draining everybody. You are not being a life-giving beacon in that conversation. You are literally chasing people away with your self-centeredness. Is how it feels to me, and how what I've done before by talking about myself too much. And you just have to be very careful of this. Like, ask lots of questions. If something comes out of your mouth, you ask 5 questions before you say one thing about yourself. I'm serious. Just 5-to-1 ratio. Keep it a 5-to-1 ratio. You can throw in something about yourself, especially if it's a relevant story or something. But by golly, you better ask 5 questions before or after that to the person that you are in this conversation with, because not only does that make it easier for them, and it shows them that you actually care about them, but it shows that you're not so obsessed with yourself that you can't see past your own ego and your own, you know, life. And you've got to be able to do that. And so, really good point there.
We both were looking for someone, and the thing that stood out to me about you on our first date was the fact that you asked me so many questions. I was like, man, this guy's really into me. Like, he really wants to know about me. I love to explain my life and give you different opinions.
It feels good to.
Everybody does. That's the point. It's you. If you understand, everyone loves to explain about their life. And when you have a conversation where you're explaining about your life and your partner's explaining about her life, that's still just two self-centered people who are not looking out for each other. But if you have a conversation where I'm asking you to explain your life, that is me making it easier on you. That's me looking after you. That's me understanding human nature, understanding that you have these things you want to share with me. And instead of me just vomiting forth what I want to share with you, I'm going to take care of you and make sure your need to share and be vulnerable is met. That is such a great thing, man. So you ask your partner questions. Don't be talking. That's the most practical one maybe we've talked about so far in this video. Just ask them questions, man. Don't make them just awkwardly broach forth things about themselves, unprompted. Just be the guy to provide an opportunity. Make a door. That's what men do. They make an opportunity for their wives they hold back the waves. It's kind of like Moses in the Red Sea. That's what it is. You have somebody, the Israelites behind him. They need something. They need a way of escape. They have a problem, and that is they're being chased by an army of slave drivers who are going to drag them back or kill them on the spot in the process into running fields that are not their own. And you have the husband figure, who's Moses, under the headship of the Lord, in total communion with the Lord, making a way of escape, providing exactly what the wife figure, the Israelites, need in that situation. Not running around, making the Israelites do the work. All right, you guys, fight them off while I try and find a way out. Like, that is not the scriptural vision. The scriptural vision is husband is in total communion with the Lord and gives his wife not something she does not need, but the exact thing she needs in every situation, provides what was needed. Okay? This is, again, you can practice providership before you ever make good money. Okay? Look at the situation around you and evaluate what is needed in the situation. And anything that you see needs done, you immediately do. That is provision. That is providership. And I see so many men that don't do this. They do a good job providing financially for their wife, but their total lack of attention to detail and total inability to figure out what needs done in a given situation is really sabotaging their ability to be a good man who's leading his wife well under the headship of Christ. That is a problem. And again, her life gets worse when your ability to do that is not up to par. Okay, so you need to make sure you have practice evaluating the situation, discerning the need, and being in communion with the Lord in such a way that the problem is solved and the provision is met. Okay, that is a beautiful thing. Okay, please practice doing that with your partner, and you can start right now. It won't be your wife, sure. You're in a room with anybody. Could be your family, could be your friends, could be a workplace, and you see a need, practice stepping in to meet the need, because that is practice for the person, again, who God is going to give you that matters more than any other person in your life, and that you're going to make children with, okay? And so just keep that in mind.
Somebody ask you questions. Definitely
Absolutely.
somebody to be curious.
And it's very obvious when somebody doesn't know how to do that and they talk about themselves the whole time. And you're like, man, I do not want to spend any time with this person because they don't make me feel good. They make me feel like I'm listening to a lecture on somebody's life that
you don't
sorry,
even know.
I don't even know you and I don't even care about you.
Yeah.
Like I have no level of care. Like I was thinking, oh, maybe, you know, like maybe I could care for this person. Not after that. That's no way.
I think it is a pretty masculine trait at the beginning, especially the dating phase, to lead those conversations, to be able to ask those questions. It's not like it's just total interview, but I don't think it's the right perspective to believe that the woman should be the one initiating all those conversations and leading the conversations, because that is going to set the tone for the relationship. The last trait here is the other side of one we've already talked about, boastfulness. I think from a woman's perspective as well, you want a man that can embody Christ's character, or at least begin to. In the Bible, we're called as men to lay our life down for our wife, just as Christ laid his life down for the church. And if a man is boastful, if he's full of himself, I just don't think that he would be willing to lay his life down, to sacrifice in that way.
And I think from another perspective as well, from a woman's view, it is quite embarrassing to be connected, to be around a man that is extremely boastful.
Yeah.
I think just the importance of actions over words. Imagine, for the men who are watching, imagine you going to meet your girlfriend's father and you are just spewing off good things about yourself and you are not showing him in your actions the attributes of Christ. What is he going to think?
For you fellas watching, this is not a avenue to beat you over the head, to just continually call you out for all the ways that you're falling short, because the reality is we all have these faults in some context. The value in this is to begin to become aware of them, to ask God to help change us, to grow in them. But the truth that I want you guys to remember, honestly, is that God's grace is more than enough for you in this. As you look at your life and you see yourself falling short, repent, turn to God, ask for forgiveness. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, Kazia, for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think in the comments down below.
And you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below of my video, as well, what you thought of this video and the things that he talked about, as well as, you know, if you've seen people struggle with those 7, you know, unattractive qualities in young men in your life, as how that made you feel. Tell me exactly how that made you feel. Like if that made you feel like, I don't know, maybe the guy on the date with you, if it made you feel like he didn't care about you or something like that, if you're a woman, or even if you're just a guy, maybe you saw another guy doing this and you saw his relationship suffer because of it, or maybe even if it's your own personal life experience, like I did this, I failed here, this is the fruit of that, this is the consequence, this is what happened, this is the you know a tree by its fruit, this is what came of my actions. And so I would love to hear anything from you, or maybe even if you disagreed with something he said or something that I said, reach out and let me know what your thoughts were on this episode through the YouTube comments, or send us a private message to the Restoring Rapport Facebook or Instagram page. Would love to hear from you there. It would make us feel super connected to you guys as audience members, and it would make this podcasting system two-way instead of a boring monologue, which it has been for too long now. So sorry, guys, working on it. But thank you for listening today. God bless you and your efforts, and I will talk to you guys next time.